Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Before I go into what it is that I do a little deeper, I want to talk about this artwork called Refresh that you just saw. So it's a digital animation that utilizes paint and a bunch of different techniques, but what's most important is how much I've been inspired by the whole region since I started coming here for about a year ago. And I learned how important to the Emirati region the horses are, the actual Emirati space program. So it's Mars that you see over there, how liquid and fluent this place is in its movements, and how everyone here goes about their business. So it's the skyline and it's the future. It's the potential of maybe tokenizing the royal horses. It's women working for the space program that I know, a person who does, and a bunch of different kinds of things. And it's called Refresh because it's time the world knows about many of the different kinds of advancements that are happening in this region, also through the eyes of an artist who is not from here. So this is what this really stands for. So my name, indeed, thanks for introducing me, Ken, is Vesa. I'm from Finland. I'm very happy to be here for a weather reason as well, because it's very snowy and quite cold in my home country right now, and the warm desert air is really kind of caressing me, and I'm ever so happy, because I think I was born a tropical animal, but I've, for some reason, always just lived in cold countries. So I'll be coming here permanently very soon. But yeah, I began as a musician and a filmmaker, and since 2008, I had a bit of a crisis of everything. And I kind of realized that if I started putting together with paint and photography and body painting and After Effects and all these different kinds of things, a new kind of expression. And that's what really then changed the course of my life entirely. So I started making these high-resolution images, museum-grade kind of things, since 2008. But I also had a bit of a background in understanding how the monetary system works through documentaries, because YouTube, you can actually get sometimes a better education from there than you can get from your university, which is a game changer. So I came in as a crypto artist to support the new money movement in 2017 that led into NFTs almost immediately, and kind of realized how all-encompassing and important that whole thing is going to be. What does it mean when 3.5 billion people who don't currently have a bank account all of a sudden get access to a digital economy, can start to create digital worlds, start to trade digital goods, and all that kind of stuff. I'm also an art ambassador with Saeed Al-Darmaki for She Said Finance. So I help curate other artists into their new up-and-coming NFT platform, as well as they're going to buy some NFTs from me and drop those into their token buyers. World that is also here, Hrish Lotikar, who's the CEO and co-founder. It's a very, very exciting augmented reality platform that is increasingly going into VR, and I'll be talking about that a little bit more later. But I thoroughly recommend that you go and talk to Hrish. Varjo VR is a Finnish company that is a virtual reality goggles company. They have the world's highest resolution glasses, and we're doing a direct collaboration as well. So that's a little bit about me to begin with. And I recommend that you download the Artivive app, because when you go to these cars in the other exhibition hall that we're doing, there's some artworks also there that you can use augmented reality on. And it's through this Artivive app that you'll be able to see the physical representation of that Refresh artwork. And then when you point your mobile phone on it, the NFT side, the digital animation, will start to play. So you can have it in multiple different places. You can have it inside of your house, you can have it in your digital gallery, and you can have it on your screens, no matter how you're going to be wanting to present them. So going back a little bit, art is a $62 billion market, which to some sounds like a lot, and to some probably here it sounds like very little. But via the NFTs, this can grow much, much higher now with the new digital economies coming up. And just for a point of reference, the CryptoPunks, NBA Top Shot, BitCloud, Decentraland, they together already are kind of coming close to the art market of how much money that is valued. And it seems like it felt like almost yesterday that no one even knew what NFTs were. So this has happened almost overnight, that these sort of collectibles are really taking over. And it also then kind of spills into what this really is. So like I was saying, NFTs are a world generator. If you can own digital land, like let's say the Earth's resources in many times over are in a kind of crisis, and we've been utilizing them quite a bit. And Elon Musk is going to Mars, and maybe the Emirati space program is taking us to Mars and getting those space resources. But let's be real, that's quite a long way away for the normal people, for them to be able to kind of benefit from that in any kind of tangible way whatsoever. So it sounds like a billionaire's pipe dream to most people at this moment in time. But even in remote villages in Africa, you have cell phone towers, even if you don't have bank branches. And Bitcoin really is something that you kind of have a bank inside of your mobile phone if you just have that. And even in remote places, usually you have some sort of a laptop and whatever. And the kind of low-effort NFTs are allowing people to trade many different kinds of things and build these new economies. So what does the world look like once the 3.5 billion people without a bank account really start to come into the whole new global ecosystem? What does the world look like when a brilliant kid from a ghetto in India can all of a sudden have a conversation with a guy from MIT who's a professor? What does the online world look like through that? And what do these new metaverses look like when you have all of a sudden a platform that is, let's say it's called Mars, and it's a world where you can own land and put your own galleries or whatever it is that your human psychology and your needs are in order for you to show off something that you have in the real world or something entirely different that you want to put into these worlds. So that's really the future where we're going with art as well. Right now, what has been dominating the NFT space has been really what I call kind of the low-effort thing. Degenerates, as they say. The crypto punks, the Bored Apes, and the Save the Martians, and all this kind of thing. And what it really is that you have 10,000 collectibles like this. And it's a very rare thing. Some of them were first, and so, as they came along, and people really understood what it was. Like you see a Bored Ape, it's a nicely drawn ape with different characteristics and this kind of thing. And there's only 10,000 of them, so it's a closed circle. You can, once the community comes in and people start to invest in them, and maybe you get access to a club, and all of these different kinds of things that are quite exciting to people. But what's really been a problem for, let's say, the cutting edge of fine art has been that thus far in this space, you haven't really had that much art expertise. So people haven't been able to analyze what is inside of the frame, the artist's career, how much their output is, like, and all these kinds of things. But now the galleries have woken up, and the Christie's and the Sotheby's, and the fine art potential is actually, I think, a lot higher than it is for these low-effort NFTs. And this is what I'm here to talk about. A little bit, I have to talk about my own work. I hope it's not too pitchy, but because if you're on the cutting edge of something, you often don't really have that many other examples where you can point to things. And I'm also, of course, super excited about these different kinds of new ventures. But this is the high-effort NFT. For example, I collaborated with a Bollywood actress called Veena Malik, and these 6 images that we made together took me 2 years. And we reached about 300 million people and changed 2 cultures in their perception in the process of this. And this was already 2013 with digital art. And this was quite an important and pivotal moment in my career, and it also provided a template on how to work with celebrities and different kinds of influencers in this world, and kind of bring about philosophical ideas and the shifts of culture and point to them even before they're in sort of mass awareness. And because they're high-resolution works, this is my studio in Helsinki, Finland. This is what you can do when you build things right from the ground up, and you really focus on the fundamentals of things. So all the couches, benches, tables, the floor, and whatever, they're all made out of the same high-resolution files. So this couch, for example, is there as the 6-meter artwork on the wall otherwise. And another thing that I'm very excited to tell you about is a guy called Lorenzo, this Italian guy who's building his father's vision that we've been building for 30 years, is a digital gallery that is the world's highest resolution screen. And they're building the first one in Dubai now, and the first one was at show at GITEX, and this is my artwork with them. Essentially, it's a 360 digital room, and from the ceiling you get to make 1,200 smells. Everything from the smell of blood to a tropical jungle, you can make the atmosphere be there. You can change the temperature of the room to become tropical or cold, steam and all different kinds of things. They call it multi-sensorial art experience, and they're building much more than that. But again, if you think what art just used to be like for people, is that you go to a cold kind of gallery with white walls, and there might be some kind of cold attitude even, people don't know you, it's like, is this nice to come into, what's going on here? Now the future of art is that you're on your home couch, you put on virtual reality goggles, no one gives you any pressure, no one forces you to buy anything or even intimidates you in any kind of way, and you get to have fully immersive experiences because some people are going to be able to build these kind of galleries inside of their homes or their businesses and cafes or whatever it is, hotels. But also the virtual reality goggles is the most intimate way to experience something that you go and live inside of an art piece. And how I came about some of this kind of, I suppose, perspective to looking at things this way is that in my early 20s, I'm in my 40s now, I came across this guy called Ken Wilber, and he's the father of integral theory. And it's this sort of map of our whole human development from individual to group to internal to external, our experiences put from since the archetypal development of us to the enlightened masters spiritually, basically. And he mapped it all together, and it was really, really difficult to try and understand the first thing that this guy was saying when I was in my early 20s, because I just didn't have the vocabulary, I didn't have the understanding of many of these kind of cultures, and it's a complex system, but slowly but surely I started to understand it. And through that, I started making films with that perspective, and then art and so forth. And to his credit, it's the kinds of level of people like the Clintons, presidential politically. I'm not saying any political statement, I'm just saying it's that level politically that he's gotten endorsements, as well as the Matrix directors when they go and talk about their most cutting edge things. They go to the Integral Institute in Boulder, Colorado to do so. It's integral priests, is people who are talking about the integration potential or differences between Islam and Christianity and things like that. That's where they have out these conversations on how to progress or hold your ground in certain kind of areas. So this is why it's important that when in 2014 I had the privilege of having my second show with them, Michael Swartz, who's a professor of history and philosophy of art, he said that my art is among the most integrally advanced in the history of Western abstraction. It's no small claim, but one backed up by the works themselves. And what that really means is the same category of Dali and Picasso and Rothko and Kahlo and so forth. And that's a certain kind of financial floor as well, of what that means. And why I'm not such a fan personally, I understand that the apes and degens and all this kind of stuff is a lot of fun, and it's youth culture and investment and developing, but I'm the opposite of the aping in. I'm like Rory Winston here says that what I've done has no points of reference. I really, as childish as it sounds, was able to make something new in this world. So it didn't exist before I kind of put it together in this kind of a way. So these kinds of things usually have at least some point in culture. I'll leave that to you to evaluate. And this is a little bit of the press and the kind of stuff that we achieved with Bina Malik before. And it was a bridge building project. Again, it looked at what we have in common as women and men, what we have in common as Finnish people or Pakistani people or global cultures, global religions. What do they have in their foundations that we can actually agree about? Because at that point in 2012, we were already seeing that the world was polarizing in a massive way. And I wanted to do something about it. I wanted to find something that maybe even initially sounded a little bit controversial, but build it over 2 years in such a way that it would unite people. And this was I think this is the sacred journey that you can do with art and the potential of it, as opposed to a banana on a wall in a Miami gallery that is a bit of a, all that stuff. Carrying on, but because I came into the space in 2017, I was able to be introduced quite quickly because of the things that I'd done before to Charlie Lee, the Helicon founder, and I worked directly with him for the Helicon Foundation, and Charles Hoskinson, the Cardano founder. He's a collector of mine. And increasingly now here in the region, I'm working with Dr. Marwan Al-Zarouni, the CEO of the Dubai Blockchain Center, and Saeed Al-Darmaki from Shisha Finance. So what I'd really love to bring this initial introduction of why maybe you should pay some attention to what I'm saying here is that the artist is a closed circle, much like the degens are. Like if you have 10,000 CryptoPunks, over 14 years I've made about 350 artworks. And because they take a long time and they're collaborative and they require studios and all this kind of stuff, it means that in my lifetime, I will make a lot less artworks that are high resolution one-of-ones than these CryptoPunks are already in circulation. So that's a little bit of the perspective of already, because people have come to me quite often and said, hey, listen, Vesa, all of your stuff is going to be a lot of value when you die. And it's not something that is entirely comfortable to hear, but it's because people don't think it through of the output of how long it takes to whatever it is and what the amount of works that you actually will have ever. So this is a little bit about the process. This is Mimi in my studio in Helsinki. And instead of painting someone's portraiture on a canvas, you actually capture the real person and their essence and their story. And increasingly, it can be virtual reality capture, like in the latest project, we had 8 GoPro cameras and depth cameras and all that kind of stuff. And this is what the output is starting to look like. And in the old gallery world, they didn't really care about this because you didn't have digital scarcity with NFTs. But now, it's coming on with a vengeance. And about 50 years of digital creativity is now being able to be tokenized ever since the inception of its history to all the different kinds of things in sports and whatever. It's a limitless field. So we just wrapped up a production with a lady called Brittany Kaiser, and she's the Cambridge Analytica whistleblower. And here, the stats with her are pretty incredible, because when she came out with her information, what Facebook was doing and Cambridge Analytica together, these multiple companies that had to do with the Brexit campaign and Trump campaign and so forth, Facebook lost $120 billion in market value in a day when she kind of opened up about this stuff. And there's now about 5 million articles written about her in relation to owning your own data and what it really means, like Isabella was saying, that data is the new oil. So it's exciting to, again, go into this very, very incredibly tense situation and dig out the gold from there to make some art about it and then make them into these futuristic sort of new expressions that people can invest in. And this is a little bit about the moment of where we were capturing this. So we had GoPro cameras, we had a new kind of depth camera, 2 video cameras, and then as well as stills running at the same time, trying to capture this new, actually a Greek mythology, Medusa kind of moment of when data is being extracted out of you, and that's one of the artworks that is coming up. But many people ask, after they buy a digital artwork, where's this all going? Where am I going to show it? What am I going to do with it? I'm just going to show it on the phone or something like that? That seems a little silly to me. But if you've seen the Ready Player One movie, what it really shows you is how expansive and interoperable these worlds are going to be. And your digital assets, if you've bought any gaming assets or something like that, NFTs are empowering that to such a degree that now the transformation with COVID into these realms is just exponential. So you can build galleries like this. So this is what we've been building with Superworld for a full year. And this is the first ever video showing of this Luxor Temple gallery made into my personal art gallery. So they're jumping from augmented reality to also going full VR. And kind of, if you think of the point of origin from white walls into something that you put on your VR glasses, and then you go and live inside and get immersed into this world that is a thousands upon thousands of years old temple in Egypt that has a certain kind of build because it's been built into the image of man. And it has a certain kind of philosophy embedded into the whole building. And then how the artworks themselves play with this old ancient concept and how that can now be one of the most futuristic ways of actually showcasing art with the history of its tradition in mind. So this is something that I'm super excited to be showing you guys, because to me, I've been looking at this forever, but no one else has ever seen this video before, publicly. This is one artwork that is to do with the Shisha Finance one, so how DeFi is changing the region here as well. And I'm looking forward to working with these guys to make it a global powerhouse in the DeFi space. Another one. Oh, it skipped the video. Is it not going to play it? Can I have some help, please? Can you play the video of this? Okay. Well, this is a virtual reality piece. It actually becomes alive in a very different kind of way when you go close to it, and the whole 12 million voxels of them are moving at the same time, but unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, I can't show you this. But this is done with the Vario VR, the VR company, in collaboration with them together. But now on to the thing that Ken was mentioning, and one of the most important things that I'm doing in the region, because we have 55 cars in this project already with Dr. Marwan. But like he was saying, if you have a Lamborghini, it's $1 million Lamborghini, let's say, it's a really expensive one. You drive it out the shop, it's immediately 700,000 in value, or even less. So how do you invert the value pyramid of a luxury item? It doesn't have to be a car. It can be anything. It can be, I don't know, your watch. You can attach a motion artwork into something that is your wristwatch, if that's your collectible game, or things like that. So what we started looking at was Dr. Marwan's own personal car from 2017, a Model S Tesla. And we wrapped it into a unique digital piece of art that is an NFT, and what you saw there was the physical car. But then I started evolving the concept a little bit with him, and we thought, wouldn't it be cool if you had a virtual reality asset of this car? And we might even be able to generate a world in which those who collect the physical car are going to be able to either game, or maybe first just a garage or something, that becomes a club, kind of like what the Bored Apes Yacht Club is, but for super high-end artistic VR assets that are a whole bundle together. So this is something that I think is a very, very cool thing. And it's made in the true spirit of DeFi, so Compound Defiance is the name of it, and you might be able to recognize the Ethereum logo at the center of it, so it's all over that car, to kind of pay tribute to this movement that is happening. Like I said, the project lead is Dr. Marwan Al-Zarouni. And he's a tremendous mind, and I'm so honored to be working with him on this. And here's some of the cars. They go from 50s Americana cars to these kind of things that look like missiles or tanks or whatever. And we're talking with a guy who has a Russian decommissioned tank that we might turn into one as well. And I'm not going to say anything more about this at this hour, but that's coming up. Game assets. If you have a game world and you wrap them in art, and let's say there's only 50 of those in the game itself, the interoperability, again, starts to become that all of a sudden that game asset goes into a movie, it goes into a game, and then it goes into your personal digital gallery, and your whole digital footprint is going to have things like that. Please download the Artivive app, come and say hello to me when I'm in the back of there, and you can see how these things are in action. What's really special, the last thing that I'm presenting here, is this first art piece, the Refresh one, because on Super Rare, which is a very famous OG platform, we're selling the one-of-one digital asset as well as the one-of-one physical asset together bundled. And once I get a decent enough proposal of how someone would like to acquire that, then it will change its ownership. So that's how you bid for it, if you have your QR code. But you'll find it there anyway.
Vesa, really important. How do artists get paid through this process? How does an artist make money? And how do you actually track on how well artists do in the NFT space?
I think my mentality is what's my last slide here, is that you need to make your collectors win. It's not about you. Most people talk about who they are and what they want and all of this kind of thing. I constantly try and look at how do those who come into my ecosystem constantly keep winning, and so that the deals are right and that they get something into their lives, and how can I provide more value into their lives constantly.
Well, let me give you an example. I know this is my opinion. Marwan's car went from, let's say, 80,000 US dollars to over $1 million in value.
Yeah, that's the minimum bid.
Right? So where does you as the artist get inside that massive 10x level? Where do you get paid in something like that?
Well, I think for the majority of it, because essentially, well, I'm not going to go into the depths of the details of
I'm just curious because I know how talented you are. He just bought a car.
Yeah.
He's got a Tesla. You turned it into a piece of art.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden,
and the deal is appropriate for that.
Yeah, it's okay. You did a win-win. By the way, I love your logo for your name, which is amazing.
Thank you.
And Vesa, people want to find you, hunt you down. Where do they go?
Here.
That's it. That's it. Now let's give them a warm applause. Thank you so much, Kitos.
Thank you so much for your time.